I want to welcome you to the 42nd Annual Sports Hall of Fame Enshrinement Banquet. My name's Joe Tate, Master of Ceremonies for this evening's program. They tell me the bar will reopen for the dinner hour only. The bar will then reopen after the program is completed for your socializing. We now want to start the program with the national anthem, to be sung by Marlene Karpinski. Will everyone please rise?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, on the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Boy, Marlene, could they have used you at the Cube before Cavalier games? Half the time we weren't sure what song they were singing. Very nicely done. And now, Robert Tomaszewski. Tomo, President Tomaszewski.
Joe, the last time somebody called me Robert, that was my mother last week. So, as a famous football coach once said before every game, where would you rather be than right here, right now? Welcome, on behalf of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame, to the 42nd Enshrinement Banquet. Tonight, we will induct the class of 2011, consisting of 8 individuals and 1 team, whose accomplishments continue to exemplify the high standards of performance in the sports arena. Our sincere congratulations to the new inductees, as well as all their family and friends who are joining in this celebration tonight. These inductees have been selected by the committee members from a number of nominees who were submitted by you, the general public. If a candidate is not selected initially, their application will remain in the system for future consideration. Nominee application forms can be obtained from any member of the committee, from our website, or by mail request at our museum, scheduled for reopening on June 1st in the St. Joseph Community Center. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all of you here tonight. Let's relax, dine, enjoy this great time in the history of Lorain sports. A few people I'd like to introduce before we get rolling here. I'd like to introduce and welcome some special guests. First of all, our clergy representative, Father Basil Stoika. Guest speaker, a 1982 inductee, George Ballou, and his wife, Janet. George. Soloist, Marlene Karpinski, who doesn't need any introduction. She did a great job. Our good friend, Ron Bacalar, MC in waiting. That wasn't my line, Ron. I didn't write that. My good friend and broadcast partner, Tim Elkhorn, the voice of sports in Lorain County. And Jim Allen Popeil, who everybody knows. Thank you for your participation in the program. The Lorain Sports Hall of Fame Committee proudly presents the class of 2011. We ask you hold your applause until all inductees have been introduced. Tony DeRay, accompanied by Megan Miller. Jamie Gladden, represented by his uncle, John Lacey. Joe Skodny, accompanied by his wife, Shelley. Mark Walden, accompanied by his wife, Deborah. Dave Urbanek, accompanied by his mother, Gail. And Joe Hudak, accompanied by his wife, Kathy. From the special category, Paul Falinsky, accompanied by his wife, Tarina. And Frank Polito, accompanied by Cheryl Bancic. The team this year is the 1986-87 Lorain High School basketball team, represented by Coach Dale Reichert and his wife, Nancy. Ladies and gentlemen, please join the committee in welcoming the class of 2011 to the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Well done, Tomo. Now for the invocation, Father Basil Stoika, the pastor of the St. Paul Peter and Paul Orthodox Church.
Let us say a prayer that all of us know from our childhood. It's a prayer that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ gave to all of us, and that is the Lord's Prayer. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory of the Father, and the Son, Holy Spirit, now and ever, to ages of ages. Amen. Let us pray to the Lord. Lord, have mercy. O Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, bless this gathered here tonight. May all be filled with the earthly blessings, but especially be filled with the love of each other and the share the company we have with each other tonight, always and now and ever, to ages of ages. Amen. Bon appetit.
Dinner is served.
It's always a pleasure. I won't go to the Colts in the red iron class. That's right. Joe, B.O. Yeah, we're going to be a whole week.
All right, we're going to begin whether you're ready or not. We have a lot to accomplish this evening. We'll start by introducing the media and other guests who are here tonight. Tom Skoke, the editor of the Morning Journal. Colin Wilson, the sports editor of the Morning Journal. Sports staff writers from the Morning Journal. There are either too many of them to mention or they want to remain incognito. Kevin April, the sports editor of the Chronicle Telegram. The one and only Jim Allen of WEOL. Our man behind the microphone and the cameras, Joe Bach from WLCS TV 20. We also want to acknowledge the fact that we have friends here from the Elyria Sports Hall of Fame who will have their enshrinement banquet this Saturday. So let's have a round of applause for those folks. Tonight, the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame observes the induction of our 42nd class. The Sports Hall of Fame was founded in December of 1969 by a group of sportsmen in cooperation with the Lorain Chamber of Commerce under the leadership of Executive Director J. Ed Hewland. Current committee member Hank Kozlowski and the recently deceased Paul Baumgartner were members of the Charter Committee. The purpose was to honor Lorain residents whose athletic achievements exemplify the outstanding sports heritage of our community. The first class of 9 individuals were enshrined in April 1970 and have grown to a total of 307 individuals in 25 teams. You can refer to the banquet program on pages 6 and 7 for a complete roster of past enshrinees. While the sizable number of those who have been honored are deceased and many others, of course, reside in distant parts of the country, we do welcome those enshrinees who are with us here tonight. We now request that those in attendance please stand for recognition. Stand up, be recognized. Thank you very much. The committee of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame appreciate the continuing support of all of the past enshrinees. We move now to page 8. I'm a little out of practice. I haven't been here for a couple of years. George Ballou excelled at every level of competition in football. First team All-Ohio selection at Lorain High School, All-MAC honors and All-American honorable mention at Ohio University, and was a 3-year starter for the Ottawa Rough Riders in the Canadian Football League. His 45-year career in the coaching profession included stops at numerous prominent Division I programs, as well as a 9-year stint as the collegiate scout for the NFL Arizona Cardinals. George was inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame with the class of 1982. Without further ado, I am pleased to welcome home and present this evening's guest speaker, George Ballou.
Thank you, Joe. With an introduction like that, I just say hello, and that'll be it. That's all I need to do. But did a nice job. I'd like to welcome everybody here, and congratulations to the inductees. It's a great honor to be part of the Lorain Hall of Fame, and I carry that on my sleeve for a number of years. I'd like to take a little time right now to introduce my wife, who is here, Janet, and we're a Lorainite and went to high school together, and we're together 50 years now. I hate like heck to say that. My 2 brothers are here with their wives, Jim and Joan, and Bob and Sue are here. And appreciate they've followed us through all the careers and games that we've gone to. A sister-in-law, Shirley Sheridan, who was a big supporter of our family, and so it's really nice to have everybody here. I'd like to also recognize all our ex-Hall of Famers. I think, it's great being a part of an organization just like this. It's great being a part of Lorain. And also the 1986 and 87 basketball team. Congratulations. And what is really great is that back in 56 and 55, you look at the names on that team and you look at the names on this team here, and there's a real correlation. And it's great to see something like this in Lorain where, everybody's not, hey, they're up and gone. People and families are still staying here in the great city of Lorain. And speaking of Lorain, Bill Mahalik and Roger Wilhelm, I was coaching this past year with Bill Conley at Ohio Dominican University, and just as a part-time coach, I completely retired from football, and we're playing at Tiffin. And before the game, we're milling around the field, and I look up, and there's Roger and Bill. And I said, "Holy cow! It's really great to see somebody from Lorain coming to a game." So they came up, talked, and make a long story short, they want to know if I could commit to the speaking engagement tonight. And I says, "You know what?" I says, "There's so much going on." I says, "Let me see. I'll let you know in another week if we got another game over there." So we played Lake Erie up at the university, up in Painesville the following week. And there is Roger and Bill back over there. And I had a big old grin on my face, and I went walking up to them. I said, "You got a speaker?" I said, "I'm free." So it was really great to commit to, come here. Now, from there, I said, "Wow, I committed over here. Now I got to start finding something to talk about." And you're thinking and going over everything, and you say, "I'll tell you what now. What keeps coming back is Lorain. Lorain keeps coming back." And I said, "That's where I'm starting. I'm going to start with Lorain." And I start back, and we lived on 26th Street, and just down Broadway here, and between Elyria Avenue and Apple Avenue. Now, in the days, 26th Street did not go all the way through Broadway, so it just stopped over there at Apple Avenue. And I remember back, Holy Trinity was in our backyard, and Holy Trinity back then had, you could go play in our schoolyard, and they only had the old pipes of, you just walk over the pipes and you're in the schoolyard. Well, World War II was going on, and I was living with my mother and my 3 aunts, and I guarantee you, if George wanted his back scratched, I'd go upstairs and say, "Aunt, would you scratch my back?" If I wanted something else done, my grandmother was still living there. I was king of the hop over there. So the World War II ends, okay, and all my uncles come back. Now the house is full of people, and Sundays, you go have your big meal, and the game of football always came around. Now here I am, maybe about 7 or 8 years old, and all the neighbors, and the Mahalik family was a great family to be around. Dick Rabarchik is over here. He lived on 26th Street. We had the Bardars, and aunts or the uncles and we'd go out and play. Now I was only about 7 years old, and they would involve me in the games over there, and they'd line me up as a split end, and I thought, "Oh man, this is great." So and I felt part of it. Okay, now you get a little taste of, hey, being in some type of game and loving it. So then we graduated. Now coming out of the Holy Trinity schoolyard, we're now the uncles are going on a little bit to work and everything, and got different goals that they're going to. Now we move to the street, and now again it's just a little gang of us boys are playing, and we're playing football in the street, 26th Street. We have our touch football games, and we always played, we called it the 26th Street, and I don't know if I should say this right now, but we called it the Pee-Pee Bowl. So Janet's face just dropped over there. So, and we played in the street, and every Thanksgiving we played in the street and we would wear out a football in the course of a football season playing in the street. But we put a lot of time and had more fun. And then as time went on now, there was a field on Elyria Avenue. So, well, yeah, we're going to the field. and started our games that we played in a field. And we played tackle football, and because it was now grass, and we wore that field out. We would play baseball there. They never had to come in the summertime and cut that field because we tramped it down. And we would play our football and baseball over there, but it had one big disadvantage. I had gone to St. Stan's parochial school, okay, and every once a month you would get report cards, and the priest, Father, would hand out the report cards, and inevitably he'd look at George Ballou, look at my report card, close it. Mr. Ballou, you're spending too much time in that field. You better get on your studies and study. Yes, Father, yes, Father. So that was a little bit of the 26th Street crew. Now, from 26th Street, we go to CYO. Now, and I like to talk in circles. We start in a little circle with our games in Holy Trinity. Now, the next circle is, I guess the circles start getting bigger and bigger. Now we're CYO football. And the coach we had was a fellow named Pajega, Coach Pajega, and really loved it. And we would practice at Subway. Now, another one of our inductees into the Hall of Fame, one of the Van Buren brothers. And we would practice at Subway, and the Van Burens were playing at Lorain High School then. And they would walk from George Daniels Stadium all the way home. They lived in South Lorain. They would walk from George Daniels Stadium, cut through a Subway, a field where we practiced, and they would walk through, and we would stop practice and look at those two guys and like, God, those are the biggest human beings I ever saw in my life. Now, if you could picture, they were had leather jackets on, had the old E-boots on, and they're walking, and you are just, but they always talked and said hello to us, and just, it just stuff that really burned in your mind that, boy, this is really, really something. The Van Burens, the great high school football players. So that was our CYO. And then even the CYO, we'd play on Sunday afternoon. And at 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, they had Vespers, okay? So we had to go to Vespers before we played the game. So we would dress up, be in all our uniforms. Now, back then when you went to church, you could not look around. That face had to be straight ahead. You could not smile. You could not make any noise. But we got to walk in the church with our cleats on. Now, we were walking down the street, the aisle there, walking, talking, not talking, but making noise with your cleats. Oh, this is really something now. So we had our Vespers, went out, played the game. And this was CYO. Now, I have to bring this up also because somewhere around this time, and this really is just another Lorain, talking about Lorain. But Andy Mahalik, our next door neighbor, fought in a Korean, they call it a conflict, it was a Korean War. And he came back and he had a group of us, all the kids over there, and he was talking about, he said, we were on maneuvers over in Korea. And he said, I looked up and I saw a Lorain through shovel crane. And he said, and the through shovel cranes back in them days, they had a beam that had Lorain on it. And then on the back of the Lorain crane, it was Lorain. And he looked at that and he said he started crying. Here he is in Korea, fighting a war, looks up and he sees a Lorain crane. And that story right there stuck in my mind. It's about Lorain, So now, you're out of CYO football. Now you go to high school. And I know Coach Tony Misko is in our Hall of Fame at Lorain also. And Tony, and the head coach was Art Lave. You had Art Lave, great coaches. You had Tony Misko, you had Angie Bangus, and you had Don White. Really, really good football players. And you say, God, this is really great. They are just really interested in you and coaching you. Well, I was a sophomore then. And the intensity of the game at the high school level, we learned what it was about real quick. There was another fella, Steve McCullough, that we were having a one-on-one blocking drill, and we're sort of patty caking with one another. And Coach Lave sees us, and he says, calls the team up. And now that day, it's raining, it's cold, it's about maybe 40 degrees out, it's muddy, and he calls the team up, and he says, and they had a big old tackle that was a senior, a fellow named Tootsie Pappas. Now, Tootsie, he was a good football player, but with the name Tootsie, you say, what the heck? So anyway, he gets Tootsie over there. Okay, Baloo, get down there. Blows a whistle, and Tootsie Pappas takes and drives me. It seemed like 5 minutes, driving me all over that mud and cold, and blows a whistle. McCullough, get in there. He drives McCullough all over. Blows a whistle. Okay, Baloo, get back in there. Drives me another 5 minutes all in the muck and everything, cold. And same thing to McCullough. And we looked at one another, McCullough and myself. These coaches are serious about this game of football. So after that, the intensity grew. We knew what it was like to play for LHS. Now, the circle gets a little bigger. Play in the North-South All-Star game. Now we're talking about, how the circles keep getting bigger. Play in the North-South All-Star football game in Canton. Move on to Ohio University, and where the head football coach is Bill Hess, and go there on a scholarship to Ohio University. Now in 1960, this is our senior year at Ohio University, we go undefeated. And back then they only had two divisions. They had a small college division and they had a major college division. And we win the major college or the small college 10-0. Back then we go 10-0, win a small college national championship. But the coaches, Bill Hess, okay, and then from here on I go to Canada and play up in Canada and come back and start my coaching profession at Marshall University. Now the word changes now from Lorain into how fortunate I am. Because now, being fortunate, I get to go to Ohio University. I'm around a great coach, Bill Hess, Bob Kappas, and the other coaches there. Go on to play up in Canada. Now I start my coaching profession. And you get around at Marshall University in 1965, you get around a fellow, Charlie Snyder. Now Charlie was a salt-of-the-earth person, really a salt-of-the-earth person. Then you go to Denison University after that, and Keith Piper is a head coach over there, and I'm with Keith. Now, Keith is prim and proper, speaks a heck of a lot better King's English than I do. Now, I know Janet will get a big kick out of that because when we first got married, coming out of Lorain, it was D's, Dat, them, and Does. And I heard so much of that. Now, you got to start speaking like you're an intelligent person. Okay, Janet, all right. So then, it is, we go to Miami of Ohio from Denison. Bill Mowry is the coach there. Now at that football season in 1973, we go undefeated. We go down to Purdue. We beat Purdue. Now here we are, Miami of Ohio. Tough kids, just tough kids, play hard, dedicated kids. So we go, and again, this is, more using the word fortunate, how fortunate I am to be around good people. And we go to Miami, and we beat Purdue. We go to South Carolina, we beat South Carolina. We get to play in the Tangerine Bowl back then, and in the Tangerine Bowl, it became the Citrus Bowl, and it was played in Orlando, Florida. But the stadium in Orlando, Florida was not ready. they could only seat 25,000 people, and they had about 50,000 people that they could sell tickets to. So they moved the game to Gainesville, Florida. So we go, Miami of Ohio, go to Gainesville, Florida to play the Gators in their stadium. We go in there and beat them. And the turning point of that game is, and things just stick in your mind, and I'm sure everybody in this room has something like this, that McVeigh was our safety. And his dad was from Dayton, Ohio, and his dad ended up being the president and general manager of the San Francisco 49ers. Great family. Well, the ball is going out near the Florida sideline, and McVeigh comes up there, and he sticks a running back, runs him into their bench. It doesn't push him down, but, just sort of shoves him right there. Well, their bench jumps up after him. And McVeigh bows up, and son of a gun, if our team don't go to that sideline, and they got their chest bowed out. And I said, oh, Florida may be in for a tough game. We end up beating Florida that game. So then now we go to Colorado. Again, we go to Colorado with Bill Mallory. And we go play Texas in a bowl game. We played Ohio State in '77 when we're at Colorado. So then that's with Bill Mallory. So Bill gets let go at Colorado. So now the next great person I am with is Lorain. Bo is from Niles, Ohio. He played at Ohio State University. Great young coach. And Bo got killed in the airplane. It wasn't what happened. It was the same thing that happened to Payne Stewart. Bo was up in Shreveport, Louisiana recruiting, and he's flying back to Baton Rouge, and a plane just kept going east. And it was supposed to land, didn't land, and it went down in off of the coast of Virginia, and Bo had perished. So now they bring Jerry Stowell, make him the head coach at LSU, and Jerry was a great defensive back for the St. Louis Cardinals. So and Jerry is another fair person that you could ever be around. Never had a bad word for anybody. And we finish out at LSU. Then I go back with Bill Mallory at Indiana. So we're at Indiana 13 years. After Indiana, we go I go to Wake Forest, and Jim Caldwell, who is now the head coach at the Indianapolis Colts. And Jim I love being with Jim. And he brought back some of the values. Every day we had to go to class. And back when we started coaching, we had to wear a tie to the office. And it gave you that sense of, hey, you are a professional person. And the profession, I think, got away from that a little bit. So we had to wear a tie every day to the office. The players, if they had earrings, well, those earrings, they came in our offices, the earrings came out. You could not go into that office with a hat on. You took your hat off and put it in your pocket. But that was Jim Caldwell. And, just a great person. So we go and we end up going to a bowl with Jim. We go to the Hula Bowl in Hawaii. And then I go to Ohio State with John Cooper. Now, John, I really like John. John still lives in Columbus. We still go out to twice a month for sure. We have breakfast and eat breakfast. And just a great person. He always has time for everybody. We're coaching in the season. Our season ended, and we're going to a bowl game. And bowl practice ends, and John comes in the office. He says, George, what are you doing tomorrow morning? I said, nothing. He said, let's go hunting. I said, I'm on. So we go, and going down to go hunting, we stop at a restaurant. And the people recognize him in the restaurant, and he has time for everybody. He has time for the cook. He has time for the general manager. He has time for the patrons in there. So he just has time. So we go hunting. But that's the kind of guy John was. So as you look back, you say, I am so fortunate to be around great people like this and just great character people. Now the other word I want to use, and this will be closing up pretty quick, encourage. And everybody in this room, there's somebody that you could encourage, talk positive. There's so much negativism that you see nowadays. You know, yeah, you can't do this, you can't. What are you doing that for? No, be positive to the youngsters. Be positive to the high school students. Be positive to college students. Now, you could go so far to be positive and encourage them, because every now and then they're going to need a good swift kick and you know what. But, you know, on the whole, there's not enough of that right now where you encourage people. You could do it. You know, there's too much tearing down that you see. And I think this is something coaching that, you know, what I tried to do. The greatest thing about coaching, I think, wasn't the wins and losses. The greatest thing, and I saw Phil Trenton, and I had coached Phil at Indiana and recruited Phil at Indiana. The greatest thing, and it came up today, the greatest thing I think that I could get love is if I'm in a town and a player's in a town, I'll go see him. If he comes into town, he'll come to see me. This is the rewards here of, I think, coaching. It's not the rewards, oh, you won so many ball games and this and that. It is the people you're around and the people you want to be associated with and how you could help these people. I was going to get into, Terry, we played in a bowl game, and I don't know if I'll be able to get into this, but Joe, you got the hook? He's kicking me under the table here, so you know. So, but anyway, we're at a bowl game, and oh gosh, that's Terry Bradshaw is the main speaker, and he talks about, now listen, he talks about this. He said, you never give up on your dreams. He did not start in high school, did not start as a quarterback in high school until his senior year. And the only reason he got to start was that the quarterback got hurt in front of him. So he never gave up on that drive to push himself and believe in himself. He never gave. He took that football team to a state championship that year. 1 year he was a quarterback for the high school. And that was in Woodlawn High School in Shreveport, Louisiana. Now, he goes on to Louisiana Tech. He's not recruited by anybody, but Louisiana Tech had a grant. He goes on to Louisiana Tech. Same thing at Louisiana Tech. He does not play quarterback until his senior year. He goes, and again, it's he got the job by default. So he goes and starts the second game. He didn't start the first game, starts the second game. He takes Louisiana Tech to a bowl game. And then after that, it's history. He gets drafted by the Steelers, and you know they go on from there. So you know the thing he emphasized. He says, I believed in myself. I knew I had a dream. I wanted to do this, and he stuck with it. And all of a sudden, you know, he is what he is right now. And it was just such a refreshing story that somebody had some drive and believed in themselves, what Terry did. Well, you know, I want to maybe end here with just a story. And going through and coaching, there's some really funny stories here, but I think this is one of the funny. We had a punter. Before the punter, I'll go with our wideout coach. You know, he coached Cliff Branch, and Cliff Branch played for the Oakland Raiders. And Cliff Branch was the master of stickum all over his arms. I mean, that's all he had was stickum from here, all over his arms, all over his, and that was that real sticky paste that receivers put on and to catch footballs. Well, Steckel had coached Cliff before he went to the Raiders. So now he gets the idea, hey, we're going to go ahead and put it on our receivers. So David Logan is one of our receivers, and he played with the Cleveland Browns here for a number of years. I saw David Logan actually catch a football with his hand up in the air, boom, and the ball stuck right on his hand right there. Okay, so now this is how much stickum. So Koleski is our punter. So we have to punt. We're backed up in our own maybe 15-yard line, and this is at Colorado. So he punched the football, and the ball goes about 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. Now, Coach Mallory is our head football coach. Bill is a good, intense person. I mean, he can't get to Koleski fast enough. He is sprinting to get him as he comes off of that football field. Stand. What in the world are you doing? Coach, I went to drop the ball to punt it. It would not come off of my hand. I had to do that to get, Now, Bill goes, Stecco. He wants Stecco now. He says, you get that stuff off of them footballs, and you do it right now. So our son, Dave, was a ball boy then. So Bill gets up to you ball boys, and the equipment manager was Bill Crowder. You get and get them balls cleaned up. So Crowder, the equipment manager, how the heck am I going to get these balls cleaned up? So he gets a tape remover. And a rag. So he starts rubbing them balls to get all that, stick them off of the ball. Now these footballs become slick as bowling balls. What a fiasco that was. Well, that I could tell you right now, that was the end of any stick-em on any of our receivers. But there's a few more stories I'd like to tell, but I can't get into. You know what? This had been a very, very, very enjoyable day for me. It's been enjoyable preparing and knowing that that I wanted to come here to do this. I had a great day, a great time, and I'm sure it's not over. And to all the inductees, great job and congratulations to you. And thank you very much.
Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the program when the Hall of Fame Committee proudly inducts the class of 2011 into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. Tonight, we induct 6 athletes whose athletic achievements have earned them recognition, 2 individuals with outstanding coaching reputations, and a team whose excellence brought fame to their school. Now, I might add that these inductees were nominated by the general public. And with that having been said, if any of you believe that there are individuals or teams who deserve consideration for future induction into the Hall of Fame, it's up to you to obtain and submit a nominating application to the committee. Application forms are available from any committee member or at the museum and also from the website. Now, we suggest that you read the complete achievements of each inductee, which you will find in their biography in the program book, because my introduction remarks are, as they say in the milk business, condensed. Inductee number 1. Inductees from the regular category are those individuals who have demonstrated outstanding athletic ability and achievement at their highest level of competition. And leading off tonight, outstanding group of inductees from the regular category, Tony DeRay, who is the very first soccer player to be inducted. Tony had an outstanding high school career at Lorain Catholic and a continued fine style of play as a scholarship player at Bowling Green State University, where he was a 4-year starter, team captain as a senior, leading the Falcons to the Mid-American Conference Championship. After a brief professional career, Tony has been the head coach at the Lakewood St. Edward High School since 2001. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tony DeRay into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
This is more than I expected. This is my first time here, and I had no idea this many people were going to be here. And I'm absolutely excited. I have to start by saying thank you to the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame committee, everybody involved for putting together this fantastic event. I'm completely honored. This is by far exceeds any expectation I had in my career up to this point, and wow, it's unbelievable. So this probably would not have happened if Coach Thomas, my high school coach, former high school coach, would not have nominated me. And he must have had a little bit of confidence. And I do appreciate that, because it took some time and some effort and obviously the confidence to bring me to the table. And I will remember this forever. So, Coach Thomas, thank you. Because we have 5 to 6 minutes to speak, it's really difficult, especially over the last few days, to pinpoint the topic that I wanted to speak about. And the more I got to think about it, growing up, playing with your teammates at 7, 8, 10 years old, going through high school, going to college and beyond, you always look back to your high school days. And that's exactly what I want to speak about. And I don't think that I would be where I am in my life if it wasn't for my high school experience. Starting from the top, having quality coaches, and Coach Thomas and my father, Coach Lorain, they gave me an unbelievable foundation for the rest of my life, with discipline, hard work, being able to work with others. And those are things that I'm going to carry away, regardless if it's a soccer field or if it's a work environment or if it's a relationship, for the rest of my life. It's not about the X and O's, because we all forget about the goals scored, the assists, the games played. It's about the relationship with those coaches and what they were able to bring to me. With that being said, soccer has given me a tremendous amount of opportunity and has opened many, many doors for me over the course of my life. The first and foremost is the friendships that I've been able to develop over the years, from a little guy on up through my college days and beyond. That's something that cannot be taken away. Like I said before, the goals, the assists, etc., forget it. It does not matter at this point in my life. The most important part is the relationships that you have and you've had in the past. And the nice part about, to this day, I still keep in touch with many, many friends that I played with from when I was a little guy and from when in high school and beyond. And it's just that's probably the best part about a team sport, is the camaraderie and the relationships that come with that. And again, without Coach Thomas's nomination, that is one thing. The second part is my family's commitment to me, their sacrifice that they made from a very early age, time, energy, money, and the sacrifice away from our immediate family. It enabled me to be where I am now, not just as an athlete, but as a human being. And I certainly will never, ever, ever forget what they've done for me up to this point in my life. And now it's my turn to give back. I currently am a soccer coach, and that's something that over the years and I'm sure my former coaches have known very well, it's time consuming as can be. You're away, you start your days early in the morning, and many times you don't get home until it's past dark. And I feel it's an obligation to me to give back to the kids that I coach now. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to coach at St. Edward High School. Regardless of where I'm coaching, I think I owe it to the game of soccer for what it's given me to give back to the boys. So I will continue to do that for a very long time. Although it's tempting to live a normal life, and those that have coached and played, you probably can sympathize with me. Lastly, in closing, I'll thank all my former coaches for all the time and energy they spent. I know exactly what you went through. The time and the energy spent. I thank my family and friends for supporting me from day one, from when I was a little guy, with my hopes of becoming big time one day as a professional athlete. And you guys were there for every step of the way, and I won't forget it. Thank you for being here, those that could be in attendance. And again, there are many, many people along the way, and I can't thank them all tonight, but trust me, at some point over the next couple of years, just if I don't say it to you, just know that I was thinking about you, and I really, really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame, and everybody enjoy your evening. Thank you very much.
Boy, you just made it. This thing's good. Our next inductee from the regular category is Jamie Gladden, who was a basketball standout at Admiral King High School and Xavier University. As a junior, he was one of the key members of the 1987-88 Admiral team, which lost in the finals of the state tournament in Columbus. He averaged 17.8 points per ball game and scored 462 points for the season. Moving on to Xavier, Jamie was a four-year starter, leading the team in scoring his sophomore and junior years and was second as a senior. He was ranked 7th in career scoring. Jamie was inducted into the Xavier University Sports Hall of Fame in 2001. Jamie is not able to be with us this evening due to business travel commitments. John Lacey, uncle to Jamie, will accept the award in his behalf. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jamie Gladden to the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Torture.
You're on.
Well, Jamie is sorry he couldn't make it here. He apologized for being here, but he said it's an honor, and he got me drafted in to do this. I don't want to get hooked. And he wrote a few things down. He apologized if he don't get everybody that was inspiration in his life, but to get to the point where he is right now. He's formerly working at the Savings and Loan place. He's vice president. And he wanted to thank a lot of people, a few of them, his mom, dad, brothers, and his wife, Latricia, the Ambrose family, Cook family. I also want to thank Mitch Gillum, Harold Walton, Ricky Washington, and 87, 88 team, 88, 89 team, Admiral King fans, Admiral King basketball alumni, and the Lorain community. Thank you.
Now, just because there are minutes left over, that doesn't mean the next guy up. No, you cannot bank the time. It's 6 minutes or die. And ironically, the man who just asked that question is our next inductee. Number 3 in the inductees tonight from the regular category, Joe Scotney, who displayed increasing baseball skills at the high school, college, and professional levels of competition. He lettered for 2 years as a left-handed pitcher and first baseman for Lorain High School, and in his senior year, he was selected co-captain. After graduating in 1981, Joe received a full 4-year baseball scholarship from Kent State University, where he was part of a 4-man pitching rotation on the Kent State teams that won 2 Mid-American Conference championships. Joe was selected to the 1986 All-Mid-American Conference first team, signed a pro contract with the Kansas City Royals. However, after 3 successful seasons, his career was cut short by chronic arm injury. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Scotney into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to start off with a short, funny story from my nephew, Ben Zarek. He asked his daddy about a month ago, he said, "Daddy, do we really have to drive all the way to Cooperstown to watch Uncle Joe get inducted into the Hall of Fame?" So I am very grateful and very humbled to be honored here in Cooperstown Lorain here tonight. And I thank the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame for acknowledging and celebrating my career. This is an absolute class act that the city of Lorain should be proud of. So thank you, Sports Hall of Fame, very much, very much. My liaison told me there's a trap door here after 6 minutes or so that, or a hook, that I may disappear, but I will do my best to get through. Okay. I would like to quickly share with you the magical ride of my baseball career. In the beginning, there was Gross Plumbing with Mr. Erdy and Mr. Edwards. Some of you may know them. They took me to Field 2 at the Lorain City Dump to see if I could be a good pitcher. They were two wonderful people. In 1975, I was part of the Lorain Elks Little League champions with 28 wins and no losses. Mr. Paul Linna, Mr. Perkovich, and Mr. Gormley were the coaches. They were the nicest group of guys you'd ever want to coach your team. Now that I'm a dad and have coached about a dozen teams, I can only imagine what a remarkable summer that must have been for the parents for an undefeated season. Mr. Hughes, Mr. Kaufman, and Mr. Linna again coached me in Class H, Mr. Furiga in high school, and Rennie Rennick in the summer. And quite often through Little League, I believe, the very next day, I would always look forward to listening to Jim Allen on the radio with his magical voice and his enthusiasm. So I thank you for that, Mr. Allen. All of these coaches made some sort of impression and molded me into the pitcher that I became. Now I'm going to take you back to July of 1981 and share this special story. My mother told me there was a Major League Scouting Bureau tryout in Berea. I showed up there at about 4 o'clock. When I arrived, one of the scouts approached me and said, "Son, what can I help you with?" And I said, I'm here for the tryout. And he laughed, he scoffed a little and said, "We started at 8 a.m. this morning." At that point, he should have sent me home. But strangely enough, he didn't. He said, "What do you do?" I told him I'm a pitcher. He casually said, "Well, we're getting ready to have batting practice right now. Why don't you go warm up and we'll take a look at you." So that's where the miracle really began right there. I threw the first 10 pitches 6 to 10 feet over the catcher's head. True. I did not throw a strike. For about the 20 or 25 pitches that I threw, there was not a strike there. And I remember thinking, I'm going to make an absolute fool of myself right now. They called me out to the field to start pitching batting practice. I remember jogging out to the mound thinking, well, it's out of my hands now. I have to do the best I can. There were 6 scouts standing behind the batting cage, just a little pressure. I ended up throwing 12 out of 13 pitches for strikes, fastballs, curveballs, and changeups. It was a real, true-to-life angels on the infield story. There is no other explanation. It was simply a miracle. One of the scouts pulled me aside and said, "Are you going to college anywhere, son?" I said, "No, sir, I have no plans to go at this point." He said, "Well, let me make a few calls and see if somebody might be able to use you." Eastern Michigan called me, came to see me play, and said I wasn't good enough. Kent State called, and Coach Bob Morgan gave me a full 5-year scholarship without ever seeing me throw a pitch. He simply trusted the word of the scout. That was another miracle. Divine intervention changed the course of my life. And so the story goes that I became a starting pitcher at Kent, broke records for most wins in a season, most career wins, most consecutive wins, and then went on to play Kansas City Royals. And what was the icing on the cake? I went back to Eastern Michigan, the team that said I wasn't good enough, and beat them 3-1 on their own field. That was very rewarding. But what did I learn from this whole baseball experience? Well, as Disney says, dreams do come true. 2 of my best champions are here tonight. My mother, who gave our family a nice home life, played catch with me growing up, and worked overtime hours to help pay for tuition to keep me in school. And my wife, Shelley, my soulmate and best friend, has been the foundation and bedrock throughout my career. starting in high school. She sat in many cold temperatures and traveled long distances to support me. Thank you, Mom, and thank you, Shelley. I accept this award today on behalf of all the people that molded and supported me throughout my career. I'm absolutely certain that without all of them, I would not be standing here today. As I close this evening, I'm reminded how important it is to smack that buzzer. How important it is to show up for your dreams, have the courage to give it a try, listen to your inner voice and trust it, and believe that magic and miracles can happen in your life. Thank you very much. 26 seconds.
There are no extra innings here tonight. The fourth inductee from the regular category is Mark Walden, who is rated one of Clearview's all-time great athletes. His amazing record-breaking performance in track were major factors to the talent-laden Clippers, who won successive state track championships in 1978 and 79. Mark decided to try football during his senior year, and he was an integral part of a great team that lost to Newark Catholic in the Class A state tournament and championship game. As a tailback, he gained 1,253 yards and scored 17 touchdowns, was named the team MVP, and selected running back on the All-Ohio second team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Walden into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you. First of all, I want to shake Joe Tate's hand. I've been listening to you for years, and I really enjoyed it. Wow, wow, wow. What an honor. That is what I thought when I received the phone call. But none of this would be possible if not for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who blessed me with the physical and the mental abilities. Being at Clearview, where sports tradition was and still is great, made you want to keep it going. It also gave me that extra motivation to be the best. Hard work, dedication, and having that will to win made the difference. Blood, sweat, and tears, that's what it took to be a good football player. Playing under the lights, Friday nights, hitting people, being hit, and scoring touchdowns. That's football. I loved running those long runs for my teammates, for the school, Clearview High School, and for our fans. What a thrill. When track season started, there was one main goal: Columbus, Ohio, Buckeye Stadium. Standing on the podium on that number one spot and taking that victory lap with the coaches and teammates. We did it in 1978, then repeated in 1979. Here are some of the things that stuck in my mind. Playing sports, having my mom, my sister, my brother, my aunts, uncles, all my family members coming to support me in my sporting events. And winning state in the 220 and the 440-yard dashes. Being part of the 880 and mile relay state championship teams and running in front of 20,000 people. Also, great pep rallies at Clearview High School. I would like to name some people who've made a major impact in my high school career. First, my mom, Catherine Walden. She showed me that hard work would pay off no matter what you did in life. Also, Coach Tom Hoke and Coach Marv Hoagland, two of the best coaches ever at Clearview High School. Great men and great father figures. Being involved in sports influenced me to also to do my very best in life. Then going back to Clearview to coach was a dream come true. Winning that state track meet with my good friend, Coach Lynn Nikoloff, showed me how it felt to win as a coach and as a student athlete. In my closing, before I close, all the years that I coached at Clearview, 13 years, football, basketball, and track going back from 7th grade all the way up to high school. All those years being there coaching, it was so great to be with the kids, to be there, to teach them the right way, to show them that tradition. But I also had my closest fan. She was always there, sitting out in the cold and the rain. That's my wife, Deborah. I want to thank you, honey. In my closing, I'd like to thank the committee for voting for me into this great sports Hall of Fame with these wonderful, great sport legends. So congratulations to all the inductees. And I'd like to say in the beginning, what I just said in the beginning, wow, wow, wow. What an honor. God bless you and thank you.
Mark, that brings up another interesting point. Saying nice things about the MC does not earn you any extra minutes. But you were really under the gun. That no sweat, no problem. Just like your track career, you finished first by a wide margin. Our next inductee from the regular category is Dave Urbanek, a graduate of Admiral King High School, where he lettered in basketball and baseball. It was basketball where he excelled as a 3-year starter and was noted as a tough defensive player, rebounder, and shot blocker. Dave continued his basketball career at Division III Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, a highly esteemed engineering school. A 4-year starter, he was the team's leading scorer for 3 years with 1,520 points, which ranked 7th on the school all-time list. Dave was the team MVP for his sophomore, junior, and senior years. He was named to the GTE Academic All-American team and was inducted into the Rose-Hulman Hall of Fame in 1998. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave Urbanek into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Okay, Joe, start that timer. I'm ready to go. Now, I started to worry about the timer, but after I heard that little beep and after playing 4 years under Mitch Gillum and Kurt Calamari in the summertime, there's no way that noise is going to bother me whatsoever. Okay. And the electrocution won't work because they did that to me as well. Good evening to everyone. This is a wonderful honor. I'd like to thank the committee, and I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees for this wonderful evening. Coming back home brings back very, very fond memories. The competition and the people that I played with in my high school career were second to none. I can remember all the different high schools that we played with in Lorain, Southview, Lorain High School, and they were all top notch. And even when we played in the summers, the games were incredibly competitive. When I went to college, it was probably actually easier for me. I actually had more individual success, and that really is because of the learnings that I got in high school and the people that I played against. I found myself coming back in the summertime and playing with a lot of my competitors on the same teams. And it went from competition to mutual respect. And it really has helped me not only with the athletics that I've done, but it's helped me further on in my career. The learnings that I took for teamwork, hard work, perseverance have helped me to continue to succeed as I move beyond athletics. One thing that really stands out to me is we call Lorain the international city. And I've been fortunate in my career to live abroad in a number of countries and do business in a number of countries. And actually working and living and growing up in a community that is diverse, that is open to other things, has really helped me adjust and learn and live into these different countries and these different cultures. And I think it's really founded in the athletics and the learnings that I did, but it's really in the community, in the city of Lorain. It's not the international city for anything, and I'm very thankful for that. When I think about lessons learned and I think about the things that I've done throughout, it's really with the teammates and the great coaches I've had. I teased about Mr. Kurt Calamari, Mr. Mitch Gillum. They were foundational in a lot of things that I did, and they were outstanding coaches and outstanding men, and really brought a lot to me. Those same lessons that I try to take to my children now. Unfortunately, tonight my wife and kids couldn't make it. I live in Indianapolis. But again, in trying to stick with that sense of discipline and teamwork and hard work, they're home studying and at soccer practice. So while I wish they were here, and my 12-year-old wanted to introduce me, he was quite excited about getting the opportunity to come to the microphone. I wish they were here, but again, they're doing really the right thing. As I've moved on my career and I've learned and I've found out a lot of things in the athletics and from the city that I started at, it's really helped me. But the thing that I really want to share with you is family. Any success that I've had is really rooted in my family. Anywhere I went, anything I did, they were always there. You know, a lot of the guys that are up here tonight are talking about sitting in the cold weather, traveling, and I would have that same support. When I got the call from Mr. Dury about the honor for being in the Athletic Hall of Fame, well, I was hugely excited. I probably wasn't as excited as my mother and father. I think they saw it as a culmination of my career in Lorain, and I really want to thank them. They never pushed me, but they were always there supporting me, giving counsel. And when my wife couldn't make it tonight, the thing that was quite exciting to me is I could actually ask my mother, who's always been there with me, to join me at the table. So I really want to thank all of you, congratulate all of you, but I really want to thank my mother and father for everything they've done for me throughout. Thank you very much. I'll give you a couple minutes. When were you at Lorain? What's that?
Okay. Small world. I was the voice of the Fighting Engineers back in 1969 and 70. It's when the train came by, you had to stop the game because the noise was so much you guys couldn't hear the signals. All right. But those were students. Next, our final inductee from the regular category is multi-talented Joe Hudak, who was an outstanding athlete at Lorain High School, lettering in football and track. A two-way lineman, Joe was named to the All-Buckeye Conference first team and the UPI All-Ohio offensive team. Joe continued his athletic career at Western Reserve University, where he earned multiple letters in football, track, and wrestling. He started his coaching career at Western Reserve in 1967 as an assistant coach in football, wrestling, track, and baseball. In 1970, Joe relocated to Coral Gables High School in Florida, where he served 21 years as the head wrestling coach and 30 years as an assistant football coach. His wrestling teams compiled an impressive record with 5 district team championships, and he holds the school record for the most wins in a season and most career wins. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Hudak into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. Welcome back.
I talk much better in front of a group of kids than I do in a bunch of adults, coaching all these years. When the writer from the Journal interviewed me, he asked if I still considered Lorain my home, and I do. Even though I've been away for 40 years, I still consider Lorain my home. And it's an honor. It's an honor to be here, and I want to thank everyone for this honor. I have a lot of other people to thank also. And I want to begin with my wife, Kathy, an Admiral King graduate. My wife for 42 years. She put up with the late night suppers because practice ran late, the missed weekends because of games and matches, and without her support I couldn't have accomplished some of the things I did in coaching without her. So I want to thank my wife. The second person I want to thank is my father. I think I inherited his coaching gene. Some of you know of him. He coached here in Lorain for a long time, in Lorain County. And I remember as a 8 or 9 year old going to 2-a-day football practices with my brother Jim and carrying dummies out to the field and carrying the helmet of our favorite players out to the field. So I think I inherited that from him. I think my son inherited my love of coaching also. He's now the head soccer coach and an assistant football coach at Coral Gables High School. He couldn't be here tonight because they start spring football at Florida on May 1st. So he was coaching football already down in Florida. Next, I want to thank my brother Jim, who's here from California, and my sister for supporting me all these years. They were my best fans, I think, along with my wife and my mother and father. Then there are the coaches from Lorain High that had an influence on me. Some of you will remember some of these names. Eugene Kennedy, Chuck Urbanik, Bill Stelzer, Jimmy Simpson, Ed Grobe, and Angie Bangus. At one time or another, I either played for them or I was the basketball manager or whatever they needed. And I can't forget some of my teammates. Some of them are here tonight. There's David Herzer. I want to thank him for coming. Rich Demakia, Bill Bishop, Ed Siniger, Eddie Gall, and any other group of fine players that we had at Lorain High that year. A reporter in Miami asked me once, what was my philosophy for coaching? And I said, number one, outwork your opponent. So we always worked hard in practice. And the second one is never cut a player. I read an article once in the Plain Dealer from Hal Leibowitz. I think some of you remember him as a writer. I think it was Hal or Hank Leibowitz. And he told a story about a coach that cut a kid one year and the negative effect on him. When I went to Coral Gables High, they had the same philosophy. We had 100 players on the varsity football team and 100 on the JV football team. And I carried that over into my wrestling team, and I think that was part of the success that I had. I never cut a player in either football or wrestling. Again, I want to thank everybody. This is a great honor for me, and I appreciate everything that's gone on tonight.
Inductees from the special category are those individuals who have contributed to the promotion of sports by providing leadership, coaching, or other assistance to the performing athletes. The first inductee from the special category is Paul Polinsky, who was a tennis standout at Admiral King High School and Ashland College. After graduating from Ashland, he returned to Lorain as a teacher and a coach at his alma mater. One of his early major achievements was starting a summer tennis program to stimulate interest and provide instructional leagues to improve skills and experience. The programs put in place by Paul were a major factor in the success the Admirals experienced under his leadership. In 25 seasons as head coach of the boys and girls teams, they accounted for a total of 309 match wins compared to only 125 losses. They would win 4 Erie Shore Conference championships, and he was twice named Coach of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Paul Polinsky into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
It's hard to compress 25 seasons into 5 minutes, so I'm going to do it in 2. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate all the other inductees and thank the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame for this great honor. Also, thanks to Terry King, Steve Dury, and Neil Summers for helping me prepare for this evening. In my 20 years of coaching tennis, I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by coaches, players, parents, and people of very high quality. I could not accept this honor without recognizing a few of the individuals. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Frank Hicks for getting me started in playing and coaching the game of tennis. Mr. Jim Polpiel for his radio coverage and sincere interest in our program, and my wife Trina, and our children Ashley, Michael, and Danny for their love and support, my mother Cecilia, sister Deborah, brother Tom, and my late father Joseph for their love and many sacrifices. And finally to Jeff, Sarah, and Andy Nalitz for sharing their knowledge about tennis to our athletes. The Admiral King Tennis Program has produced many fine athletes, but I'm most proud of what they've accomplished in college and in their professional careers. 8 of these examples are here tonight, 3 in my own family, and 1 is waiting to be inducted right after me. I'd like to leave you with an observation made by a coach who was inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame some 22 years ago. That's Mr. Frank Hicks. And I've been analyzing adolescent behavior for about 27 years. Lorain children possess a unique toughness, which is both mental and physical, a toughness that can never be taught or learned. And as a product of Lorain, I later realized in adulthood that I possessed this toughness and expected my athletes to be tough, stay tough, and never give up. This attitude propelled me and the Admiral King Tennis Program to city, county, and statewide recognition. Their behavior mirrors the character of this city, a city I'm very proud to call my home. Thank you very much for this great honor.
We have a new leader in the clubhouse. The final inductee from the special category is Frank Polito, who after an outstanding playing career at Admiral King High School and Eastern Michigan University, started a new career as a tennis coach. Upon graduating from Eastern Michigan in 1990, Frank entered the coaching ranks by being named their head coach for the men's tennis program. After 5 years at EMU, he moved to the University of Kansas to become their interim women's coach and led the team to a first-place finish in the Big 8 Conference. His tennis coaching successes would take him to the University of Akron, University of Louisiana at Monroe, and the Ohio State University. In 2007, Frank joined the University of Georgia staff as the assistant coach recruiting coordinator for the women's program. Frank has consistently been credited with having top-notch recruiting classes. In September 2010, Frank was appointed associate head coach recruiting coordinator at UGA. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Frank Polito into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Patience. I never thought back in the early 1980s that riding my bike 3 times a day to and from Columbus Park and Admiral King tennis courts to practice all summer long would lead me to standing here today. Back then, just as a high school freshman, I really just enjoyed playing the game of tennis. For me, hitting the little yellow ball around, chasing it all over the court was fun. Even if I was just banging it up against the garage door when I was bored, from the moment I was introduced to the game of tennis, I was simply hooked. Coincidentally, banging that ball against my father's garage door wasn't something he was usually very happy about because of the many marks it left on his door. Most guys put on a suit and tie and head to the office for work. Each day I wake up, I get to put on a pair of Nikes, a pair of shorts, t-shirt, and head to the courts. There is nothing more I'd rather do for a living than be on the court with my players. Tennis has personally taught me so much about life, whether it was a player or as a coach. Sharing this with others is one of the most special parts of my job. I've coached many players over the past 20 years, from the campuses of Eastern Michigan to Kansas, to Akron, to Louisiana Monroe, to Ohio State, back to Kansas, and now to the University of Georgia. I have the distinct honor of recruiting and coaching some of the best players in the world. Most importantly, I've been fortunate enough to build relationships between player and coach that are special. Each is one of a kind, and each is one that I will cherish forever. I would especially like to acknowledge my parents for always being there for me over the years. Even when I wasn't doing everything right, they have always been there to support me. As an adult, they are still there for me, and I know that they always will be. Thanks so much, Mom and Dad. My very first tennis coach, Mr. Frank Hicks, taught me a lot about the game of tennis and about life as well. He was pretty hard on me at times, like when he threatened to make me and my doubles partner walk home backwards from the Buckeye Conference tournament in Sandusky. He didn't, and even though I didn't actually know that at the time, I know now he always had my best interest in mind. He always pushed me to be nothing short of the best. Coach Hicks has always supported me in everything tennis, from my days as a player to those now as a coach. When I received the Most Improved Player Award in college, it was Mr. Hicks that I called. He matter-of-factly told me, "That's because you have the most to improve on, so keep working on your game." As usual, he was right, so I just kept plugging away at my game. He gave me the foundation that was needed to be a successful player, coach, and person. Thanks so much for everything, Mr. Hicks. Then there's my college coach from Eastern Michigan University, Coach Dan Ryan, who is present today. How lucky I was he took a chance on a blue-collar kid from a public school in Ohio, something that's not so common in the elite world of tennis. He strategically took my game to the next level by always believing in me. He believed in my work ethic, and he intrinsically knew it would pay off in the long run. He was one of the most passionate coaches I have ever experienced in my years of tennis. He's a guy that just loves the game of tennis. Each day, as he expected his players to get better, he expected himself to get better as well. Coach Ryan was always trying to learn as much as possible about his players and the game of tennis. He was always in search of new techniques or any little edge he could get on the competition. The only thing I wish he would have came up with at the time was a different way to travel. At Georgia, we travel via a sleeper entertainment bus that comes with its own driver, 12 beds, a kitchen, multiple plasma TVs, wireless internet, and satellite TV. Back at Eastern Michigan, our away trips involved 8 guys and all their stuff packed into a 15-passenger van driving to Florida for spring break. Coach Ryan would start out driving, then pass the driving on to the upperclassmen. Somehow the driving always got passed down to me. What a learning experience it was, driving a 15-passenger van for the first time in the middle of the night as a teenager. But it all worked out because when I got my first coaching job, I was ready to drive that van. Coach Ryan, I always knew as a player that you believed in me, and I've always wanted and still want to make you proud of me because of all you have done for me and for the opportunities that you have afforded me. You really are the best. Thank you so much. When I look back at my years as a player, I now realize just how special it was that a tennis team from Lorain could be a state contender, and how special it is that I got an opportunity to play at the next level. It's even more special that Lorain, Ohio was my beginning, a beginning that has led me to the University of Georgia with its awesome facilities and a tennis reputation that is so highly revered in the world. How special that my career path began as a little middle-class kid from a small town in northern Ohio. It only goes to show that with a little hard work, if Lorain could do it for me, Lorain could do it for anyone. Thank you.
Tonight, we honor the Lorain High School 1986-1987 basketball team. Before proceeding with the introductions and biography, we invite all team members to come forward to the front of the dais for the presentations. The Steelmen completed the regular season with an 18-2 record and became the undisputed Buckeye Conference champions in the final year of their existence by defeating rival Elyria in the final regular season game. They won 2 more games in tournament play before losing to Admiral King in the finals to finish their season with a 20-3 record. The team achieved a number 9 final ranking in the Associated Press Class AAA State Basketball Poll. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Lorain High School 1986-87 basketball team into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. Accepting the commemorative plaque will be coaches Dale Reichert and Carl Hartman. Coach Hartman will provide remarks to acknowledge the honor. Coach Reichert will introduce all players present as well as those players that are not in attendance. President Tomaszewski will present a commemorative certificate to each team member as they are introduced, and certificates for those not in attendance will be given to the team representative. And folks, please hold your applause until all of the players have been introduced.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame for the induction of this team into this hall. It is a very appreciative honor, and I know each member of the team is very happy to be a member of the Lorain Hall of Fame. Thank you. As I introduce the team, I will introduce each player. Some may not be here, so if each player and each coach will just take a step forward so that everybody will know who you are, I would appreciate it. First of all, assistant varsity coach Carl Hartman. Varsity coach Rich Falk. Varsity coach Tony Melendez. The players: Maurice Davis, Don Godleski, Tony Gummo, Scott Hammerlick, Al McConney, Bill Nowlin, Al Scott, Phil Trinner. Art Unovich is not here tonight. He is in Afghanistan as a defense contractor. Juniors that year: Kevin Drummond, Steve Hughes, Chris Loy, Tim Stratton, and sophomores: Mike Hartman, Tony Robinson. The managers: John Cortez, Fred Ortega, Derek Oline. This was the 1986-87 Lorain Steelman Championship team.
Once again, we'd like to thank the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame and also Diane Trinner, who is Phil's mom, for nominating this team. Without her help, this process may have taken a little bit longer. We also want to thank one other person, and he's way back in the corner over there, and his name is Bill Mackinnon. And Bill was with us, almost 25 years. Stand up, Bill, so they know who you are. And the year these guys won the Buckeye Conference Championship, Bill became our faculty manager, so we'd certainly like to recognize him. To start this season, 86-87, we challenged this team, and we gave them t-shirts that said, "Won the first one, win the last one." And what it made reference to was the fact that Dale and I had played together on the first Buckeye Conference basketball championship team from Lorain High School back in 1955-56. And in between that time, there were no championships. So we challenged this team knowing that this was the last year of the Buckeye Conference. And lo and behold, we pushed them a little bit. They struggled a little bit, and we won that championship. It wasn't easy because there were a lot of close games, but this team had a lot of heart. And I will say it was a team effort because we had some pretty good scorers, but we didn't have a great team. But as you can see, we had some pretty good size. And that helps out, especially in high school basketball. For those of you that have been around for a while, you know what the Buckeye Conference was. At one time, it was considered probably, if not the premier conference, high school conference in the state of Ohio. It certainly was one of the premier conferences. And we competed in that for a good many years before the traveling, which was quite extensive. The school system decided that it just wasn't conducive anymore. But anyway, it was a great conference. We had teams in there such as Admiral King, Elyria, we had Fremont, we had Mansfield, Marion, Sandusky, beside the two good teams in the city, both Southview and Lorain Catholic. And it's quite an honor. We congratulate the team itself for this particular last honor of the Buckeye Conference. So in closing, I'd like to say thank you. And we have one more, I think Rich is going to say something here for a minute. Come on.
I'd actually prepared a few remarks, but it's been a lovely evening, and I'd hate to have it end by Joe Tate electrocuting me. So I will just instead say that I coached for about 20 years, and this is the finest group of young men that I ever had in 20 years, and they are really worthy of this honor, and I'd also like to thank the Sports Hall of Fame for recognizing them.
Next, I would like to call to the microphone Tim Alcorn of WEOL Radio for the J. Ed Euland Awards. Tim?
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to give Bob Lisicki some heart palpitations here because I'm going to go off script for about 30 seconds, Bob. That's it, about 30 seconds. Our Master of Ceremonies tonight earlier this year announced that after 39 years as the voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he would be retiring at the end of this season. And so I'm sure, Joe, on behalf of everybody in the city of Lorain and the tens of thousands of people across the state of Ohio, we thank you for your amazing play-by-play, your unbelievable memories that you have created, and certainly, while there have been other great announcers in the game of NBA basketball, we have been blessed to have the very best announcer in the history of the game in Cleveland, Ohio. So thank you, Joe, for all you've done. I'm counting on Joe for a ride home, so I had to say that. So enjoy your retirement. Sit right there. Don't touch that buzzer while I'm up here. Because it is time for a very, very special moment year in and year out at the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. It's time to announce the J. Ed Euland Award. The Lorain Sports Hall of Fame annually honors the memory of J. Ed Euland, one of the founding members of the Hall of Fame, by presenting scholarship awards to the outstanding senior male and female student athletes nominated by the participating schools. Criteria for judging includes class rank and GPA, athletic achievements and community service or extracurricular activities, all of which have equal value. Secret ballot voting by the committee determines the two winners of the $1,000 scholarship awards, with the runner-up nominees each receiving a $500 grant to the college of their choice. The Lorain Sports Hall of Fame gratefully acknowledges the financial grant received from the Lakeland Healthcare Corporation Board of Directors to assist in funding those scholarship awards. The introductions to follow for the nominees only include selective accomplishments for brevity of the program. We suggest that you read the complete biography for these outstanding nominees, which can be found on pages 38 and 39 in your program book. And so we will start with our female nominees for the J. Ed Euland Award, and we will start with Shaniqua Ogle from Lorain High School. Shaniqua's class rank is 71 out of 441 with an outstanding 3.34 GPA. Shaniqua is a member of LaCapsie since 2010-2011. Other activities include being an academic scholar and Friends of Rachel. Sports that Shaniqua participated in include lettering in the following 3 sports: basketball for 4 years, track for 4 years, and volleyball for 4 years. In basketball, Shaniqua was the Lorain County Division I Player of the Year in 2010-2011. She was also Lorain County Miss Basketball, and her postgraduate includes attending Bowling Green State University and playing basketball and track. Ladies and gentlemen, from Lorain High School, Shaniqua Ogle. And our second nominee this evening, ladies and gentlemen, Alexis Sollett from Clearview High School. Alexis has a class rank of 3rd out of 146 with a 4.208 weighted GPA. Her activities include National Honor Society, volunteering for the Office on Aging, as well as being a Buckeye Girls state delegate. Sports at Clearview for Alexis included lettering in 2 sports, volleyball for 3 years and track for 1 year. And in volleyball, Alexis was a Lorain County All-Star for the 2010-2011 season. Her postgraduate plans include attending West Virginia University and majoring in pre-med as well as athletic training. Ladies and gentlemen, from Clearview High School, Alexis Sollett. And the winner of the J. Ed Euland Award for the 2010-2011 season for girls athletics is Alexis Sollett from Clearview High School.
First off, I would like to thank the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame, as well as the Euland Committee for selecting me for this scholarship. I feel honored to now forever be a part of this prestigious group of scholar athletes. I also want to thank the Clearview Committee for selecting myself to represent Clearview High School, as well as Dr. Jama, Mr. Gallo, Mr. Kohler, and Mr. Demakia. Lastly, I want to thank my family for the constant support and encouragement. Thank you.
Congratulations, ladies, and now we will bring forward our 2 male nominees for the J. Ed Euland Award. Our first nominee is from Lorain High School, and he is Pete Rufo. Pete Russo has a class rank of 61st out of 441 with a 3.968 weighted GPA. Pete's activities include being a member of National Honor Society, as well as a volunteer with the American Cancer Society and Friends of Rachel. As far as sports are concerned, Pete Rufo has lettered in 5 sports: football for 3 years, basketball for 2 years, track for 4 years, swimming for 1 year, and cross country for 1 year. And Pete Rufo was also a football team captain this past fall in 2010. His postgraduate plans include committing to play football at Valparaiso University and majoring in biomedical engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, from Lorain High School, Pete Rufo. And our second J. Ed Euland nominee from Clearview High School, Cody Kaya. Cody has a class rank of 17th out of 146 with a 3.834 GPA. Cody's activities include being a member of National Honor Society. He's a representative at Buckeye Boys State, and he's a volunteer fundraiser for Cancer Cure. Cody's sporting activities at Clearview included lettering in 3 sports, football for 3 years, baseball for 3 years, and wrestling for 1 year, and he was also football All-Lorain County first team. Cody's postgraduate plans include attending college to play football and major in education. Ladies and gentlemen, from Clearview High School, Cody Kea. And ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to announce that the J. Ed Euland Award for Male Athlete for 2011 goes to Pete Rufo of Lorain High School.
Thank you. I wrote a little something this morning. There's a long list of people to thank. First and foremost has to be God for giving me this opportunity to be here in front of you. My numerous coaches from CYO, AAU, Little League, high school, and now going on to college. Having support from your family is one of the greatest aspects to an athlete. Individually, I'd like to thank Coach Jeremy Wilt, a man that I sure wouldn't be here right now without him. Anthony Stacy, Al Stacy, Mr. Colin Irish, Coach Todd Allville, Scott Bryant, Mike Akers, Coach Scott, Brian Corey, Coach Jackson, Coach Patterson. I'd like to thank Bob Kunaselis, Steve Zentarski, Dan Truxell, and Art Roos. They could not be here tonight, but really thank them for everything that they've invested in me. I also like to thank Jim Popiel, one of the greatest influences in my life, and my Uncle Dave, who couldn't make it tonight. Thank you.
Next, we want to call to the microphone a gentleman who has been mentioned here several times, and deservedly so. Again, from WEO Radio, Jim Allen Popiel. Jim?
Thank you, Joe. It is truly an honor. The Lorain Sports Hall of Fame is pleased to congratulate those individuals whose athletic achievements have been recognized with special honors and awards. Tonight, we recognize 5 individuals who have attained All-Ohio honors for their performances the past sports season. We suggest that you refer to pages 40 and 41 of the program book for a selective listing of their accomplishments. And I can say I personally know all 5 of these individuals. They're not only All-Ohio athletes, but All-Ohio as individuals. Very fine people. The first player is Melody Ferris, representing Southview High School, earned Division I honors in track through her 5th place finish in the 300-meter hurdles with a time of 43.94 seconds at the 2010 state track meet. This plaque is presented in recognition of this honor. Melody Ferris. And she's still doing it. She took 4 first places in a meet against Shaw yesterday for Lorain High. The next athlete is Ian Meslak from Clearview High School, who was named to the 2010 Division II All-Ohio Baseball First Team. This plaque is presented in recognition of this honor. And Ian's still continuing as one of the top hitters in the state of Ohio in baseball. The next honoree is Christian Nogueras, representing Southview High School, who earned Division I All-Ohio honors in track through his 3rd place finish in the long jump, with a distance of 22 feet, 9 3/4 inches at the 2010 state track meet. This plaque is presented in recognition of this honor. Christian Nogueras. And he also won 4 first places. He's been taking first places wherever he competes. He is something else, I'll tell you. You ought to see him do those jump dunks. He can jump over the cars. He doesn't dunk yet, but he can do it. Shaniqua Ogle, representing Southview High School, earned Division I All-Ohio honors in track through her 6th place finish in the shot put with a throw of 41 feet 2 inches at the 2010 state track meet. This plaque is presented in recognition of this honor. And she placed at state by doing 41 feet last year. She's already done 44 this year for Lorain High, so she is outstanding. And the final honoree is Eamon Willis. A senior at Lorain High School, earned Division I honors in wrestling at the 185-pound class through his 8th place finish at the 2011 state tournament. This plaque is presented in recognition of this honor. Eamon Willis. Congratulations to all athletes for your achievements, and keep up the good work. You know, George Ballou, who I would rate as one of the top 5 speakers in the 42 years of this Lorain Sports Hall of Fame, said be positive. 41 years on WEOL radio and other places, that has been my hallmark. And it's no problem telling you 2 important things I'd like to mention before I leave the honor of the great Joe Tate. And especially for so many of you from out of town may have wondered how the first year at Lorain High School has gone. It's a school that has sports teams that do not quit. They won an unbelievable 6 games in boys basketball this year by margins of 3 points or less, including an unforgettable district tournament championship or a semifinal win over Strongsville, a team that just a week and a half earlier had defeated the #1 team in the state, Garfield Heights, a team that would go on to win and go on to state in that particular format. And Jamie Gladden, I'm sure if he was here, we would be honoring him for making a 3-pointer against Strongsville in the district back in 1988. We went 23 years before it happened again to anybody from the city of Lorain. And Mr. Davis, Brandon Davis, hit one to beat Strongsville, which was definitely one of the best teams in the state of Ohio. Not only in boys basketball, but also in baseball this past Sunday at the Pipe Yard. Elyria burst out to an 8-0 lead over Lorain High. And most teams would just say, well, let's get this over with in 5 innings, mercy rule, let's go home. Not this team. They came back and tied it. 8-8. Track, you've mentioned, you've seen 3 of the outstanding individuals on this current track team. They absolutely refused to quit. At the Lorain County Invitational at Midview a few weeks ago, just outstanding finish and effort is going on. And I'm also happy to say that the football program is going that way too. And we have Mark Solis, is he still here? Yes, I'd like you to meet the new head coach at Lorain High in football, Mark Solis. And things are going to be good. For those of us old enough to remember the old turntable record players, in the past, no, I don't remember it either, but the football teams used to work at the 33 1/3 speed. Now with Coach Solis, they're up to 78. And I'll tell you, you're going to enjoy next fall very, very much. Some great things are happening. And the final thing I want to mention is more important than any athletic achievements. You know, I've been involved intensely with Lorain Public Schools for the past 50 years. And I can truly say that this class, this group of people at the brand new consolidated Lorain High School, the nicest, most respectful student body I have ever known. So I'll tell you, things are looking good in the city of Lorain. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I just want to make one thing clear before I bring up Bob Tomaszewski. I'm not dissing him. I'm not leaving early. I'm not stranding Tim Elkhorn without a ride home. But there's a partially prepared pizza from Rosie's out there in the lobby, and I'm going to go get it before the girls take it home. Thank you very much. It's all yours, Bob.
Well, Joe, while you're walking away there, there's a lot of people to thank, and the first one is, of course, Joe Tate. And, Joe's been around a long time. He's been the MC since 1985. He was an honorary enshrinee with the class of 2001. And, Joe, you did another fine job this year. And I want you to know, I'm not sure what your future plans are, but whatever they are, you got this seat. It's got your name on it anytime you want it. And we promise that with a wham with the right hand, buddy. Joe Tate. Lorain Sports Hall of Fame Committee gratefully acknowledges the following companies and organizations that have provided extraordinary service and support to our program many, many years. We sincerely appreciate their continued support that enables the committee to maintain and expand the programs to honor the finest from Lorain. The American Slovak Club, First Federal Savings and Loan of Lorain, Kohlmeyer Sporting Goods, Lakeland Healthcare Corporation, Liberty Ford and Lincoln Mercury, The Morning Journal, Pat O'Brien Chevrolet, Redmond Recreation, and On the Avenue, and the City of Lorain Administration. Thank you all. A few more people to thank. I want to thank past enshrinee George Ballou for your great talk. George, it's hard for me to believe that you knew that many people. And of course, we can't forget Lenny DeLuca for the outstanding meal. We've been here for a few years now, and this is a class event, and we got to thank Lenny for that. Finally, to the banquet committee chairman, Bob Lasicki. This just doesn't happen. There's a lot of work that goes into putting this banquet on. Bob Lasicki and the banquet committee, to the program book editorial staff and coordinator Bill Stow, to advertising coordinator Ted Driscoll and his staff, to Harvey Herman, Bob Katrasak, co-chairman of the nominating and screening committee, to all the members for the dedicated efforts in producing this event to honor excellence in athletics in the city of Lorain. Final announcements. Our next activity is our annual golf outing fundraiser, and that's Saturday, July 16th at Fox Creek. If you're interested, there are flyers on your table. There are some flyers over in the green room. So if you're interested, contact Dave Simpson or Neil Summers, or for that matter, anybody on the committee, and we'll hook you up with whatever you need. We are also announcing we're going to plan to reopen the museum on June 1st. In the same location in the lobby of St. Joe's where we were before. And it's going to be maybe not bigger, but it's going to be nicer. So watch the journal for those kind of things, okay? For more details, see page 19 in the banquet booklet. Also, two really important announcements. All players on the 86-87 team, you are requested to meet in the Evergreen Room immediately after the banquet for a special presentation. And along with that, AMVETS Post 47 invites all members of the LHS basketball team, relatives and supporters, to a social, not sure what that means, but social, immediately following this banquet. Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight, and for our benediction, Father Stoker.
Let us pray. O Heavenly Father, we gathered here this evening to honor those individuals who excelled in athletic achievements and to offer God's blessings to tonight's inductees, family members, friends, coaches who give encouragement and support. May they not only grow in athletics but also in wisdom. To our dear friend Joe Tate, the voice of the Cavs, wishing him and his loved ones God's blessings, many, many years of good health and happiness. Good night, everybody.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.